Hi everyone and welcome here to this bonnet tutorial. If you're watching this tutorial, it's because you purchased one of this pattern on Etsy or you purchased my book on Amazon. For this tutorial here, we have two sizes available, which is for kids, that's a much shorter design, and for adults as well. And also there's a few options that I'm going to explain at the end of this video to attach this to your bonnet. Because this can be a little wider or this can be attached down here on the bottom going down as well. So there's a few options there. This ribbon here, so in this tutorial I'm gonna be showing you how to make this ribbon here and also this ribbon here in two different ways. Okay, this one has to be handmade because you can't really do this work to this side on the machine, but this one it's made by hand, just by pulling stitches and remaking them. So there's the two options of ribbing you gonna learn. And also I'm going to be using then 100 grams of worsted weight yarn. Okay, can be big twist, can be carom cakes, can be also red heart if you find any color that goes a little better on the machine. Some colors of the red heart, they go better than others, so you have to always choose the yarn that feels more soft against the skin. That's the yarns that the machine like. Or you can also use double knit if you want something for days that are not as cold. I'm going to be using the interchangeable needles for this and to make just the front ribbing here. But you can also make this ribbing with a crochet hook. Crochet hook can be 4.5 millimeters, okay? It's very easy as well. I just made this one because I just think the knitting matches a little more with the whole piece, but it could be done in only 4 rows of crochet, okay? I'm gonna show you quickly the measurements so you know, but it fits me well. It fits an adult, 24.7 centimeter or 10.5 inches. And the width, that's the largest width you can make on a Sentro 48, okay, on a circular knitting machine. 18 centimeters. This fits me really well. It goes all the way to, and I'm gonna make a video and show you how it looks like. And so you can also use stripes here if that's something you would like. I think it will look really cute as well. The circular needles you're gonna be using can be a 4.5 or 5 millimeters if you have any at home, and the wire is not very long, okay, it's a little less than that. I think a 15-inch wire or something like that. But with these interchangeable ones, you can, just put on top and see how long you want the wire for. That's what I do. You put the wire with the needles, they have to have the same size that you are making. So this, as you can see, is a little longer. So what happens then, you have to pull the wire to work all the time, and because that can be a bit annoying. That's why I like these interchangeable ones, because then you can connect all the wires and use the exact length that you're gonna have in your project. And that's valid for any project. If you are making a bottom ribbing of a sweater as well, you want just the exact same size of your project or a little smaller than your project, otherwise too hard to work with them. So I'm going to be using this. It's a very fast project. This one you can make in only 2 hours. And so let's get started, guys, and I'm going to explain you the step by step for this beautiful bonnet. To start this bonnet beanie project, I'm going to be using waste yarn in a contrasting color. And I'm going to start the cast on needle number 1 here, and I'm going to cast on for 45 stitches, and I'll be working a panel, but using the tube mold of my machine, so I can start on needle 1. I cast on all the way to needle number 45. I'm going to make now 4 rows, or 3 to 4 rows with this contrasting color before. I'll be making only 3 rows because I only have enough yarn for 3, so I'm going to go from here to start working with my color of choice, which is this one here. So this bonnet we're gonna start working, let me show you here, this is my drawing. We're gonna start working from here to here, so from the bottom to the top, and I'm going to be making 50 rows now, straight. So 50 rows to work the sides of this bonnet. I'm working again with the tension with my hands, so I can pull in this first stitch here after the yarn goes underneath this little piece here, and then I can make my way back and just let the yarn really slide through your hands without any tension, just really guiding it. And here as well, I'm gonna go all the way until the yarn's underneath here, and then I start making my way back. Always put the stitch down on the bottom here so you don't drop the stitches on the edges, and then make your way back, making sure when you make the loops are always down on the bottom. So I'm gonna keep making my rows. I'm making then 50 rows now. And then I'll show you how to make the top part of this beanie, of this bonnet, because it's a little different. So make your 50 rows and I meet you when we finish. I'm here at the end of row 49. And now what I want you to do is count on this other side, on the opposite side, I want you to count 16 stitches. Place the needle like that so you know which stitch it is. Of course, 16, needle number 16, because we started on number 1. And then make the row all the way to that stitch there. And then make sure this last needle before the needle 16 will grab the yarn, and then make from here to here without the yarn to release the stitches so you can cast off. And then now cast off the stitches that should just released. It's easier if you start from the outside in instead of this, what I did. But anyway. Okay, so just cast off the stitches and leave them just like this. And then make your way back to where the working yarn is. Put the yarn underneath here. We always have to do this before we start any row. And now grab another yarn tail, and then count 16 this way. When I reach this needle here, I'm going to repeat the same thing I did on the other side. So crank all the way to you reach that needle, remove the yarn, and crank the remaining stitches without yarn. And remove them with some waste yarn again. Okay, so these two parts here, they are going to be the sides of my bonnet. Let me just make my way back. Always start where the tail is. And then here I'm going to make 31 extra rows just straight to make the top part of my bonnet. Okay, so I'll come back with you with this done, and then I'm gonna show you how to put this bonnet all together and to seam it. And then after the 32 rows, again, release the stitches. Now this is how it looks like. So what's gonna happen is we're gonna fold this way, and then we are going to fold this way, and we're gonna form a bonnet like this. I'm gonna show you how to seam it on the sides first, and then I'm going to show you the bottom ribbing after this. So I'm going to cut a yarn tail that's gonna be enough to seam from this part here, which is not much. And then with this same tapestry needle, I'm going to start seaming this part here into this part here. So this seaming, it's called the graft stitch. And make sure you don't pull it too much, because this is a live stitch that we are going to use later, okay? So right now what I want you to do is just from that side to this side, you're gonna put through two of the loops this way, and then pull through. You can make these tails smaller so they're not on the way so much. Just pull them to the other side like this, so you can seam it properly. And then on the other side, I want you to go here in this first stitch, or it can be either the second one, which I think you can see better. So for this stitch here, we are going to be seaming the same way we do the mattress stitch. And then you can remove this here. And you're gonna put the needle through the first stitch and into the second one, this way again. Mattress on the other side. Okay, so I'm going to go all the way to here, and then I'm gonna show you how I finish this, and then I'll repeat the same thing on the other side. And then here, just finish, I just put it through the last 2 stitches, and I'm going to grab this last one here on the other side, then pull it just to close, and then just put the yarn in this way. As you can see, this here I calculated, so I would have, because I had here 16 stitches, here I had to have 32 rows for it to close. Like every stitch here is 2 rows here, because we are making the master stitch on the top, and so that's why I made 32 rows this way. Okay, so if you wanna use this technique in any other project, you know how it's calculated. And now I'm going to make a knot on the back. Cut the yarn, and you can probably use this little piece on the other side. So I'm going to finish the other side here. Just seam the same way that I did on that one, starting from the outside in. And then after this, we're going to make the bottom ribbing. Now grab another piece of yarn, and what we're going to do is that we want to remove this waste yarn here. Now on the bottom, working on the bottom here, put a yarn tail through so we can bind off the stitches as well as we make this ribbing. I want to make a 1 by 1 ribbing here, so I'm going to open a few stitches. Make sure you always open the same number of strands here. I'm going to open for 5 only. I want a very short ribbing, but if you want a longer ribbing, just open for more stitches. And always make sure you open the same number in every stitch, otherwise they will look different. So once I open them all, flip it over and just pull the yarn this way. Make sure you pull them on the right order, otherwise they'll be twisted on the front. Just like this. Flip it over again. Okay, and now that I have the 2 loops here, I'm going to make just a slip stitch. And then I'm going to slip stitch the second stitch here, because so you want a knit, a purl, and then a knit. And then I'm going to pull through, make the stitch, and open this for 5 stitches again. This is another way to make the ribbing, but it only works when you're going this way. That's why the front ribbing we are going to make in a different way. And then also make sure that loop's not too tight, the first one, otherwise your ribbing is gonna end up really tight at the end. And then pull through, go on the second stitch. Sometimes I like to work with a smaller hook, just to make it easier. And then pull through the second one, and then open the third one, that next one again. So I'll be doing this all the way to the other side, and then I'm gonna show you how to make the front ribbing after that. Now, at the end here, I finished the ribbing. That's how it's looking like right now. And straight from here, from this last loop here, I didn't cut the yarn, I left the yarn attached, because we are going to pick up stitches on the side here of our beanie. So to do that, just put the needle through this first loop and then into the second stitch as well, just the next stitch, and pull a loop. And then the very next stitch, pull a loop. And then skip one here so we don't end up with too many stitches at the end. And then into the very next one. So I'm going to grab 3 for 3 rows, and then I'm going to skip 1 row. Now skip this next one and grab 3 more. And then here I'm gonna show you because it's gonna be a little different, but you can pick up stitches this way all around this side and into the other side after. I'm just gonna show you how to do it here with these live stitches that we had from the top of this bonnet. Now I got my last stitch into this first side here, on this first side here, and now I'm going to slip stitches these next stitches through the circular needle as well. And then what I want you to do is you're gonna make the stitch before you slip the stitch into the needle. And let's make this shorter so it's easier for us. The reason why I'm making the stitch before I slip the stitch into the circular needle, it's so I keep this working yarn on this side. Otherwise I would have to leave the working yarn here and I'll have to reattach on the other side and make an extra knot. So that's why I'm just knitting this part here. I just knit this way. You can also use a crochet hook if you think that's easier for you to grab the stitches. I just make it this way. Okay, now we have all these stitches and we are going to start picking up stitches on the other side just like we did before. So 1, 2, 3 and skip 1, and then repeat this all the way until you reach the bottom on the other side as well. And then I'm gonna quickly show you how to make the ribbing by hand after this. Okay, so I slip all the stitches inside this one circular needle, but I'm not working on the round because of course, as you can see, it's an open bonnet. And so I'll be turning around every time I reach the edge. So the first row, what I want you to do is just knit this first stitch here and then pull the second one. Then knit from the front here, pull, you put the yarn on the top and then your needle underneath and get this way. So we're gonna just replicate the same stitch we have on the bottom, on the sides here. I'm gonna show you on the second part, but you basically, on the second row, I'm gonna show you again, but you basically, where you have this little V stitch here, the 2 loops this way, you're gonna knit, and where you have this little thing on the top, you're gonna pull, and that's gonna be the same way on the other side. Okay, I'm going to be making only a few rows, five or six rows. You can make more if you want the ribbing to cover a little more of your face, just keep making this ribbing as much as you want, and then you can always try it on along the way. I always like to try it on as I make it, just to make sure the size is gonna be right at the end, okay? So after this, I'm going to show you quickly how to bind off as well, and then we're going to be making the little scarf on the bottom on the both sides here. And then when you reach the other side, just flip it over and start working here on this side. Now always this first stitch you're gonna just remove from the needle, and then just make the purl stitch where you had the purl. This is the V, and then you knit. This is the purl. It has a little thing on the top. You're gonna purl. So you, in order to just repeat the same effect here, so you always have the same stitch on each column. And so just count 6 of these rows. It's same as here. You can count on the V's 2, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the way you count it. So that's the way you count here as well. So after this, I'll just bind off, and then we're going to make the little scarf on the bottom. Now I have made 5 rows here, and I am going to bind off the stitches all on the right side, okay? You always bind off stitches on knitting on the right side. So it will finish exactly like that, but we are going to be working with a needle instead. So as you guys can see, it's made in a very similar way. Now what I want you to do is you're gonna just slip this first stitch into the other needle, and we're gonna be knitting all the stitches this time, okay, instead of purling. So knit the second one, and then bring the first one on top of that second loop. Knit, and then here be loose, okay? So knit, and then bind off. Knit, and pull. Okay, so it's, as you can see here, it looks exactly the same as here, okay? And then just finish all the way on to the other side. Just repeat this process all the way until you reach the last loop here. And then all we have to do is our little front scarf to make the lace. Now, after I finish the front ribbing, this is what I have. That's how our bonnet looks like. And now I'm making this part here. That's to make the lace on the front. Now for this part here, I just wanted to explain that you can attach this part going that way as well if you want, and going this way. So you will all it's gonna change, it's you're gonna be seaming down the bottom, or you're gonna be seaming it right here on the sides. Now also, you can make this wider if you want, if you really want a scarf on the bottom, like, or if you want to cover more neck coverage with this bonnet, you can make it double size, okay? I used only 6 needles here, so I'm going to be starting this. This is gonna be a panel. Here, to make this panel, we are going to work with only 6 needles, and because one of the sides will be cinched, I'm cinching here, and we don't really need a finish for that, I'm going to just cast on 6 needles. Okay, and this last one, I'll just make a loop around it to make this stitch, and then make the other stitches, just like we worked a panel before with 45 needles. Now we are working a panel with only 6 needles. Now to reach that same size that I wanted, this one here, I'll be making 128 rows, or 130, like, you know, it's not that you have to make the same amount of rows, you just have to make sure you have the same length of this, okay? But just for pattern purposes, I'm gonna be counting the rows I'm making. So I'm row number 3 and I'm making 4. I'll be making 128 rows. Now that I've made all my rows here, you can either compare to the other side if it's the same, or you can measure again. Now, one side, as I said, I'm just going to pull to cinch, and that's the bottom part of it, and then make a little knot and put this yarn inside so it doesn't show. And on the other side, I'm going to release all the needles, and then I'm going to bind off with some waste yarn so I can seam it to the bonnet like this, and then just cut a little tail so you can seam with the other side, and then prepare to attach to the other side. Pull this yarn until it's just at the edge there, and then we're going to count 2, 4, 6 stitches. And on stitch number 6, we're gonna put the needle this way to pull to the other side, and then in this first stitch here, and into the second one this way. And then here on the second one again, underneath here, and then on this one, and this is called graft stitch. Remember to grab the last loop you just passed through again, here and here, this way, and then into the next one. You're gonna form exactly the same stitch here, and this way it's a seamless kind of stitch. So that's how it looks like. It's very seamless. It always looks, it almost looks like it was made together. And then just finish with a knot at the bottom. And then just make a knot and hide this tail on the other side as well. And this bonnet is ready. I'm gonna show you how it looks like on me as well. And I want to say thank you so much for purchasing my pattern on Etsy or the book. Hope you enjoyed this pattern, guys. It's the last pattern of the book, and I'm really glad you got here and you could make all of them. Leave me a review on Amazon if you can, and also on Etsy, and I love to see your creations as well. If you could share photos on Etsy, that helps me a lot to reach more people too. Thank you all for watching, guys, and I see you in the very next tutorial. Bye.